Hey Charlie, thanks so much for being here to share your expertise and wisdom on the visa process. I know as our participants are thinking about their journey to the US, there's lots of steps they need to take in order to get to the United States to study at a college or university, but everyone is often worried about visas and visa denial rates and things that they might not control, even if they get into their dream school that they can afford. So, yeah, let's talk about visas, visa denials, visa applications, all of that stuff to enlighten our crowd here.
All right, I'm happy to do that. Thanks for having me on, Patrick. So I'm Charlie, co-founder of Strive Africa. But before that, I was also a designated school official at three different small colleges across the United States. So I've worked with hundreds of students who are applying for visas or considering coming to the United States for international higher education. And I just want to start by stating it is possible. Hundreds of thousands of students before you have gotten their F1 or J1 visas approved and are happily studying in the United States every single year. So the US State Department, um, their goal is not to deny you a visa. Their goal is to bring qualified, engaged and motivated students to the United States to experience our amazing higher education system. So you start off with that they're not the enemy, but part of their purpose is also quality control and making sure that students are serious about pursuing studies and serious about coming to the United States. So that's really what they're there to do. Um, the visa process and the interview, it's also good to just remember like how common it is that every single student who comes internationally to study in the United States is going to go through this process. So it is a doable process. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking going to a U.S. embassy or consulate and meeting with an official, but I want you to go in with optimism and with confidence when you are entering that visa process. And one of the things that should make you really confident is that a US university or college or community college has already accepted you. They have chosen you as a qualified candidate. So you can go in with that chip on your shoulder, knowing that you are a qualified candidate ready to study in the United States. And you have that I-20 paper, which shows that you are qualified and ready. The visa interview is really you just demonstrating in person to a official that you truly are sincere in your intentions and that you are qualified.
So we've heard that it depends on a lot of factors to get your visa. So what are some of the factors that people ought to be thinking about in terms of the best foot forward for an application?
So first I want to say that the visa interviews are usually very quick. They're doing dozens every day during the busy season. I've had students come to me and say that it was only 3 minutes. They prepped a whole speech and then their visa interview was two questions, 3 minutes, approved or denied. So be ready for it to be fairly quick. What they're really looking for is a few different things. They're making sure that you are sincere in your intentions to study in the US and that you don't have other intentions, that you really want to be a student. The F1 visa or the J1 or even an M1, which is less common, most of you will be going for an F1 full-time student visa. Uh, that is a student visa, emphasis on student. You are going there to study. So when you're in your interview, you want to make sure that you're emphasizing you are going there to study, and it's because you fell in love with this specific program at this specific college where you really want to study in a specific place within the United States. So they're making sure your intentions are sincere and that you are serious about studying at that college in that program and finishing your degree. The other thing they're really looking for is, do you plan to come home or leave the US? The F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa, and that is very important. So you are not moving to the United States. You are coming to the United States to study. And when you're having the visa interview, you really want to emphasize that you plan to return to your home country to work or to leave the United States to find employment. Even if you have a small inkling, a small thought that you may want to stay in the US and get a work visa or apply for another type of visa, this is not the interview for you to mention that in. This is your student visa interview. If you have a goal someday of working in the US, that's great. Save that for your work visa interview. when you're coming for the student interview, you want to focus on your studies. A couple other things they're going to look at, they may verify finances to make sure you have enough money to comfortably and safely study in the United States, that you're not going to be left stranded there without funding. They may evaluate your English language ability. So if it's a college that's requiring full English language ability at a higher education level, that means you have to be quite proficient in conversational spoken English. So they may be testing your English ability as well. But really, the big ones are sincere intention to study and intention to return home after your studies. That's going to be 90%. Most of the times, if I saw a student that didn't make it through, it's because they didn't show ties back to their home country. They couldn't show that they intended to return. So that's just good to know as you're walking in.
Yeah, yeah. Ties to one's home country is something that comes up again and again. What does that look like? How can they applicants demonstrate ties to their home country that they're going to return home to?
So it can be a lot of things. Um, Often for graduate degrees, it's a little bit more concrete. Like you'll actually have a offer of employment or a place of residence, or maybe even a family back in your home country. So when you're looking for a master's degree, graduate degree, PhD, you may be asked about your employment in your home country or more specifics. Bachelor's degrees are a little bit trickier. And it's tricky. I've talked to consular officials, and it's tricky for them too, because these are usually 17, 18-year-old kids who may not have very strong ties back to their home country. Um, there you have to show intention to return, but any kind of ties you have, if you show that your brother or your sister or your parents, they left for the country for education and they returned back, that's a good sign that you will leave the country for education and return back. If you have any places where you've done internships or where you've worked or where you intend to work, it's good to mention that. If your family has a place of residence there where you'll be able to stay after your studies, that's helpful too. Um, but for a bachelor's degree, it is a little bit, as younger people than us would say, it's on vibes. It's about like, are your vibes, good that you plan to return back? It's not a completely objective process. The consular official is trying to feel out whether or not he thinks you plan to return.
Mhm. So once someone submits their application and gets an appointment for a visa, and then they go and have that interview, is that the last step in the visa process? It's usually granted that day, and then they can prepare for their actual travel.
Yeah, you may not know that day. It's usually fairly quick after the interview. The long waiting is usually getting accepted to the college and then getting your visa appointment. Once you have your visa appointment, things tend to move pretty quickly. Typically, what would happen is if you go that day, you may know that you're approved that day, and they may ask you to leave your passport, where they'll actually insert a visa onto a page of the passport, and then you'll get your passport back within a week. That's typically what happens. Every country, every embassy, consulate's a little bit different too, which adds a level of complexity that can be hard for students to navigate. Going for a visa in Japan looks very different than going for a visa in Lagos, Nigeria. Just the way that the consular officers operate is going to be different. But one of the best things that you can do is to stay in touch with Strive Africa advisors, or also reach out to Education USA advisors within your home country. They're going to have specific knowledge about what the visa process looks like going from Nigeria to the US, or Ghana to the US, or Kenya to the US. Each country, because there are two parts to every visa, it's coming from your home country to your destination. Each situation is going to look a little different based on your home country. But basically, once you get that visa approval and they're putting that stamp in your passport, that's the last big step that you have to cross. And then once you have that visa approval, even just the letter saying you're approved, and you have your enrollment deposit paid to your university, you're ready to book a plane ticket. That is the last big hurdle. On the other side, I would say wait for the visa interview before you book the plane ticket, because I have had students who run into trouble where they are delayed or denied for the visa and have already tried to book travel. So it's good to wait till after in order to make sure that your travel goes smoothly.
That's great. Thank you. So if the visa is one of the last big steps, Just to clarify, one of the big important early steps is to make sure that you are on the right trajectory to get
Mhm.
into a good school that you want to go to, that you're going to succeed at, and that the financial dynamics of that arrangement makes sense for you and your family. Is that right? You focus first on
Exactly.
the application process, and once that's all set, you can transition to the visa. Is that right?
Exactly. So before you ever think about getting an F1 visa, you're going to need to get accepted to a college or university in the United States. And to do that, you're looking at really three things. And if you work with a Strive Africa advisor or attend our bridge program, you'll understand these things very intimately. It's the personal fit, the academic fit, and financial fit. So we're looking at three different ways that that college is the right fit for you. Personal means that the community, maybe the weather, the state that it's in, the place that it's in is going to be a good spot. The size of this college is going to be right for you. Maybe you like small classes, maybe you like a giant lecture hall. That's all personal fit. Academic is making sure they have the programs that are right for you. If you want to be an aerospace engineer, you're probably not going to go to a small liberal arts college that doesn't have the program. You're going to end up at a big tech school. So looking at a program that fits your academic interests is essential. But then the make or break fit is really financial fit. If you can't afford a college and you don't get enough scholarship, then it's not the college for you. It doesn't matter how much you fall in love with it. It needs to be a financial reality. And in order to qualify for that F1 visa and to get your I-20 form to apply for the visa, you have to show that you have enough funding to cover your education at that college. So that financial fit is an essential step before you can ever apply for a visa. Once you find a college that uh, at least meets good enough standards on that personal, academic, and financial fit, where you feel like you could be happy there, you could achieve your diploma there, and feel like you could pay the fees, then what you're going to do is pay your enrollment deposit. And when you pay your enrollment deposit, that is saving your spot at that college or university. And when you pay that deposit, at that point, or sometimes before that point, is when they'll issue you your visa paperwork to apply for the visa.
It's tremendous advice. Thank you so much. This is really helpful, and we'll make sure to share this with our community. Appreciate it.
Thank you.